Hi, I'm Kelly and welcome to this video. And in this video, I want to talk a bit about a concept that has become very dear to me. A concept that I feel is very important for women to know. And I call it behind the body. Because for far too long, we have been led to believe that all we are as women is a body. A body that must look a certain way and act a certain way. And if it doesn't, well, then you cannot participate in society. You must hide away and be ashamed of yourself. And that a woman's body is only for a man's pleasure. That it is only in existence for the sexual pleasure of man. And this really fucked up bullshit rule, this completely made up nonsense, needs to be changed. Growing up, I was fat. And I started to really put on weight when I was about 13. And by the time I became a young woman, I was obese. I didn't realise that that's what I was at the time, but I was definitely obese. And during these formative years, I was constantly led to believe that I was nothing. I was nothing because I was fat, and I was ugly, and I was worthless. All because my body just didn't look the way I was told it was supposed to look. It didn't look like everybody else. And I couldn't get it to look thin and beautiful, no matter how hard I tried. And the harder I hoped and the harder I prayed to be thin and to be skinny and beautiful and all of that, the more worthless I felt. I felt lost, I felt alone, and I really just felt like nothing. And honestly, I wanted to just disappear. But I couldn't. So instead of disappearing, I just ate my feelings, and that just led me to becoming larger and larger. But the irony is, the larger you get, the more invisible you become. No one wants to talk to a fat person because fat people just aren't worthy of anyone's time, of anyone's attention. And I noticed that only the thin people and the beautiful people, well, they were the ones that got noticed. They were the ones that got the attention. They were the worthy ones. They were the ones who got the boyfriend and had the perfect job and had the perfect life. And the fat ones, well, the fat ones whose bodies did not meet society's requirements, well, they get left behind. They get forgotten. They get teased. And they're left feeling like they just don't matter. All because of their body. But behind their body is a woman or a girl, a teenager, who just wants to feel loved and accepted. Who wants to feel as though she is worthy and that she has a place in this world. She wants to feel as though there is more to her than just what her body looks like. And honestly, I'm so grateful that I get to be living in the year 2021, not as a teenager, but as a grown woman who now understands so much more about all of this, because things are really beginning to shift. There is a massive change upon us when it comes to women and their bodies. And I've gone through what I've gone through to get to this point, to learn all that I could about being a woman who has hated her body for almost my entire life. I get to have a better understanding now of why I experienced all of that hurt and all of that anger and all of that frustration and deep, deep depression. Again, I never called it that when I was in it. I didn't understand that I was deeply depressed. But I have made it through the other side. You might not be there yet. You may be still wading through all of the bullshit, feeling like you're just getting nowhere. Which is really what I feel my purpose is. I've been through all that. I've learned so much. And for you who is ready to learn too and to move through it, that's what this video is for. It's to give you a new way of thinking about yourself, about your life, and about the world. Because you are so much more than your body. And if you feel as though your body is forever holding you back, until when? Until you get skinny, until you get thin, you get that six pack, you get those toned arms and those sculpted legs. I'm here to challenge those thoughts and really confront them. And the ultimate goal, hopefully, is to change them. Change all of that within you. Because you have so much inside of you that is just ready to just burst out of you and come into your world. Because you do have so much love and joy bursting to get out. You have so much life to live. But if you wait until when, then your life's just going to pass you by. Your life will keep moving in a forward direction, but you'll only be sitting in the passenger seat as a shadowy version of yourself. But you'll be sitting in the passenger seat as a shadowy version of yourself drives your life. And you are allowed to take control of your life and move into that driver's seat as you are right now, because your body is beautiful as it is right now. Your body is amazing as it is right now. Your body is perfect as it is right now. And in saying all of that, the behind the body concept is not just for those of us who were once the fat girl or may still be the fat girl. And as a former fat girl who still mostly, well, who used to, not anymore, but I used to identify as a fat girl, I can say with all honesty that even those women who are our ideal weight, who have the perfect body, who seemingly just have it all, they also have to deal with society's body requirements. And they just have somehow managed to achieve it. But it doesn't mean that they are not hurting just as much as the fat girl. They're just hurting and dealing with it in a different way, because they too must live by this body requirement, as all women. All women just seem to have to. So whatever your body shape is, your body size is, it's time to stand up and say enough. Let everyone know that we will no longer be living by this body requirement, that we have our own body requirement, and it's personal and it's unique to each and every one of us. And behind each and every body on this beautiful, beautiful planet of ours is a woman who is smart and funny and capable and strong and loving. And she is desirable, and she has passion, she has beauty, and she is empowered. And she is most definitely worthwhile. And that we are really no longer going to tolerate others telling us how our body should look and what it must do. That it is only there for other people's pleasure. Gosh, even a woman who is breastfeeding her child can't do it in public because she might give men or children the wrong idea when all she's doing is literally feeding her child. It's not about enticing men and flopping your boob out and it's like, oh, look what I've got. Our boobs are not sexual. They are a part of our sexuality, but they are also designed to feed our babies, to nourish our babies, to nourish a baby who just needs all of that to grow and thrive. But at some point throughout our history, boobs became just a sexual object, along with the rest of a woman's body. Women have been accosted and interfered with because of their body. Women have been hurt and harmed because of their body. Women have been ashamed and tormented because of their body. And who gets the blame for all of that? Because it's the woman's responsibility to use her body for the purpose of entertaining a man in any way that he pleases. But she must do so without a word. She must not speak up. She must remain silent so as not to upset anybody, especially the man. When I remember back when I was 25 years old and I was living in London at the time, a few friends and I went on a bus tour to Germany for Oktoberfest, and we got back to the campsite and we're just sitting around just like the picnic area, the outdoor campsite area, and we're having a couple of drinks, and we're just talking to some other people, didn't know them. We're just all there having a chat, having a couple of drinks, and there were a couple of guys that were talking to us as well. And I know that I only had 2 beers that whole time until the moment that I don't remember anything. And then the next thing I know, I come to and I look down and I look around and I'm completely naked in their tent. And one of the guys is having sex with me. And that other guy was in the tent as well. They were both there. And I had no idea what was happening, how I got there. And it was completely surreal. I felt drunk, but knowing that I did only have 2 beers before my memory blacked out, I was so naive at that age, even at 25, and I really didn't have much of an idea about drinks being spiked, any of that kind of thing. So it wasn't until quite a few years later that I started to understand more about what happened to me that night. But yes, this shitty thing happened. I kind of paid them back because when I woke up and I started to move and I realised what was going on, I actually vomited all through their tent over all of their stuff. So there was that. But I never actually told anyone. Not even the next day. I didn't tell any of my friends. They just thought I was off with these 2 guys. And I'm not sure I've even really told anybody. I don't even know if I've actually told my husband, to be honest, because it's not something I think about all the time. But I really do feel like it sort of messed me up in this weird kind of way because I couldn't process what had happened. And even now, thinking about it, it still feels like some weird dream that kind of happened to me but didn't happen to me. And, you know, even though my body was not this perfect thing, thin, beautiful thing, this fucked up thing, totally disgusting thing still happened to me. And I'm mentioning this in this video because I just feel like as women we have to deal with things like this that are confusing and they're distressing, and we deal with it all on our own. And it really kind of cemented what a woman's place in this world was, what my place in this world was. That I was really nothing more than a body for some man or two men to do what they wanted with. I was not worthy of any real love. And I just pushed all of that in the back of my mind, like I did with everything else. Just pretended it didn't happen. And that's what a lot of us women do in those really awful, traumatic experiences. And we just move on with life in a more destructive and punishing way. And I continue to abuse my body and myself with drinking and partying and lots of eating and, yes, men and all sorts of stuff to keep myself from being myself, to keep myself from feeling anything, and to keep myself from having to deal with the realities of the world. And these truly fucked up realities, they keep women small. No matter what her body size is, she just has to stay small. So a woman's body, no matter what her size, just gets used and abused. And for too long we have been made to feel as if we do not have the right to protect ourselves. That we must just go along with the whole ridiculous notion that our bodies are only for others. That there is nothing else to us except what really essentially it's skin and muscle. The skin and the muscle of what our body looks like. And unfortunately, women can be just as cruel as men when it comes to what our bodies look like, because we've all been brainwashed into believing that a woman's body is only worthwhile when it is thin and beautiful. But as women, we must come together. We must unite for all of our rights to look however the hell we want to look. That we must support and love each other and stand up for those who cannot stand up for themselves. And that includes our girls. Our girls are growing up believing they are not worthy of society's love because their body does not meet this really fucked up requirement. And just on and on and on it goes, one generation after the other, believing that they are nothing more than just a body. But let's go behind the body of every woman and realize there is a story in there. There is a story of hurt. There is a story of love. There is a story of survival. There is a reason why women abuse their bodies with food and any number of other things to make themselves larger and unattractive, or larger to become invisible, or larger to continue punishing themselves for being so horrible and so unworthy. But on the other end of the spectrum, women abuse themselves and their bodies with too little food as well, or at the gym, slogging it out on the treadmill, because getting fat, it's an absolute no-no. To some women, getting fat would be worse than dying or even getting cancer. The idea of even an ounce of fat on our bodies has become so terrifying that women spend billions of dollars every year on diets and shakes and pills that might work for a minute, but long term they end up causing more harm than good. And we constantly think about food and about dying to the point of mental exhaustion. And I, for one, became so mentally exhausted from thinking about my body and my weight all the time that I almost had a breakdown. And I say almost because I was so in control, not in a good way, in quite a bad way, that I could never allow myself to actually feel it, to allow whatever to come through. I suppressed everything, just suppressed it deep down inside of me. All of that hurt, all of the hate, all of everything. And my body was my life. My body and what it looked like took over my whole existence.